And we are live. Thank you for waiting. Hopefully I don't have another window open with this, because then I'll get the echo. I hate the echo. One of the worst things in my life is listening to my own voice. Anyway, right. I had the interview yesterday, which is why I didn't upload any videos, with a fellow of mine who, let's say he is involved into Romanian politics at the, well, not necessarily like higher level, but like medium to high. And we discussed about Ukraine. I'm going to upload the interview within the following week. It needs a little bit of editing before it can go live. And there is a hilarious thing that happens. You get to see why I don't really talk about the war in Ukraine, because the fog of war is a thing, right? So the Western media is going to try to spin it one way, and the Russian media is going to try to spin it in another. Let me give you an example, right? What is the name of the last city which the battle took place? Because I know about it, but it's, the name eludes me. Bakhmut, right. Apparently, it was one of the most fiercest battles of our time. Like, very high number of casualties. And it's also a really senseless battle, if you want, because it's no strategic interest over there. There's no infrastructure that needs to be defended. There's no important resources. So you wonder, like, okay, well, why were they fighting? Two reasons. Number one, the Russians needed a win, because they suffered a chain of defeats up until that point, so they really wanted to have a morale victory, while the Ukrainians were fighting for it because they had the high ground. So it's like, well, if they're coming at us and we are at an advantageous position, we're going to keep on doing it. So it was a meat grinder, pretty much. And what's interesting is that the number of artillery shells that were fired was astonishing. And we're going to probably hear about this battle in the history books if you're in the Ukraine, or probably even Russia. Like it was a bewildering number of artillery strikes. Now, due to that, the Ukrainians started running out. And not just the Ukrainians, but the Russians as well, right? So like both sides started running out of ammunition because it was not sustainable. They were firing more artillery than the entire production of the world. So even the United States like had a couple of I think like a couple of spokespersons saying that, yeah, we're starting to run out of ammunition. Britain said the same thing. Like Britain recently came out and said that, yeah, we're basically like running out of stuff that we can help with the war effort. And it's interesting to see the propaganda, right? Because you have the Russian propaganda that goes like, look, they're running out, ha ha ha. But the reality is that the Russians are running out as well, and that's not mentioned. So this is why I don't really like talking about these things, because even if like people don't lie, they don't present the whole context. So within context, it makes sense. Yeah, like both sides were firing so many rounds that they eventually ran out of the figs. So it makes sense, right? Like, Russia do be a big fan of artillery. Well, I mean, it's part of modern warfare. The main problem that I'm looking at the Ukrainian conflict, and the thing that I can say is that they're operating based on NATO doctrine, which isn't really a bad thing to do, but in order to operate under NATO doctrine, you need air superiority. Like the entire NATO doctrine is devised on the concept that you are going to obtain air superiority, and the Ukrainians do not have air superiority. So that's why it's difficult for them. Thank you, Evil Kitty of Doom. I actually remember you. Yeah, I remember when you used to watch my live streams in the past. But I'm glad you came there, especially. Hold on, give me a second. I need to. I forgot to shield my thing. Here we go. Now I shielded it. Please sanitize your YouTube links. YouTube links got 2 times longer. They added source identifier in them for the sole purpose of collecting data. You can delete it and the link will still work just fine. Why you should delete your post link on social media? Google crawler finds it, checks the database, and now it knows this account on other social media belonging to you. That's interesting. I click on your link, and now Google knows our accounts are connected. Jesus. Jesus. Is that a thing, though? I hope it's not a thing. At the end of the day, the main problem is that most people are perfectly fine, and this is why Cyberpunk is not a dystopia, by the way. It's because people want this shit. They enjoy this shit. How can it be a dystopia if people like it? It's where the internet is going, really. Like, I am sure that if you were to collect as much information from a social media company as they're collecting from you, they would ban your account. There is no fucking way that it wouldn't happen. Like, all the information that Facebook collects from you, if you were able to collect from them, they would immediately ban you. But for some reason, I don't know why people trust them with this information. My favorite part was that I was on Twitter, and I was talking with an individual, and I was saying that, look, it's not okay that Facebook requires ID from people. It was like the hypothetical concept that Facebook would require an ID. And he was like, oh, so what if they require an ID? I would give mine. And it's like, okay, well, can you give me your ID then? If you don't think it's a problem giving your ID to someone, why can't you give it to me? It's like, is this interesting thing? Like, no one would give me their ID, but if I create a social media company, then they would. Like why though? Why? Well, why do you not trust a human being, but you trust an institution which is made of multiple human beings? Like, how is that institution more trustworthy than... Like, you shouldn't trust anyone with your ID. Jesus fucking Christ. Like the worst thing imaginable would be for any social media company to require a photo of your ID. And I heard this being passed around, like Twitter wanted to do this. They wanted, like, if you have a blue check mark to show ID. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm never going to do that. And I will tell you why. Like, first of all, assuming that the company genuinely doesn't sell your data, right? So they care about privacy, they just want to see your ID for some fucking reason. If there is, like, a breach, a security breach, someone hacks it, do you know what they can do with your ID? They can just call your bank. And if in certain countries, like, it depends, but like in my country, they ask for the equivalent of a social security number. And if you have that, and I think, like, if you have the place of birth or like some other, like, information, then you can use the phone in order to do almost any transaction. You can move money from one account to another. Like, having someone's ID is a big thing, and for some fucking reason, you want me to believe that it's okay to give it to another social media company. Go fuck themselves. They already did it in Canada. We saw the beta test. Oh, God. This is but a bigger thanks for the many years of entertainment, says Brian H. Money's tight. Take my money, legend, and keep the kami on his toes. Well, I appreciate it. I think you're talking about Dev. I am doing my best with the appearances on the Archcast. Luckily, last time, like, he didn't say anything that triggered me, so. Gavin Newsom just passed 25 laws to disarm Californians and fuel inflation by raising minimum wage to $20 or fast food workers. Oh my fucking God. I really hate, like, the concept of rising minimum wage. Like, many people don't understand how bad it is. How fucking difficult must it be? The only time you don't understand why minimum wage is bad is if you're not working. Unironically, I remember working at McDonald's when they raised the minimum wage. Okay? Worst thing that ever happened to me. So I was working at a McDonald's. It was a KFC, sorry, not a McDonald's. I was working at KFC. And all of a sudden, the government, in its infinite wisdom, decided to raise minimum wage. The first thing that happened, literally the next month, 2 people that were working there got fired. Now, for some fucking reason, they didn't fire me. However, even though they increased my wage, I now had to do the job of the people that got fired. So it was, like, all of a sudden more stressful, because now you're thinking, oh, well, what if they fire me next? It was also more intensive, because I had to do the job of someone else. And I'm thinking, like, man, this is not fucking worth it. And on top of that, right? Not only does unemployment go up because all these companies are firing people, but on top of that, like the prices became more expensive. Like within the next 2 months, all of the product become more expensive. Why? Because like the price, the extra amount was forward to the customer. Like you have to be mentally deficient to want minimum wage to rise. Like there is absolutely no reason. Minimum wage rises naturally. Simple as like if you're a company, because first of all, like what is minimum wage, right? Like you're talking about things that aren't even like careers, right? Like it's usually like an entry level job, something that people do when they want to make some extra money. It's usually jobs for teenagers. That's what minimum wage is for. It's not jobs for like people who want to start a career. It's very difficult to find like a 40-year-old man getting minimum wage unless he's like a security guard somewhere, a janitor. But I think even janitors get paid more than minimum wage. So anyway, right, like you're talking about like a very small niche sector of the industry, like people who are just starting up, and when you rise the minimum wage, you're making it very difficult for them to operate, and the price gets forwarded to the customer anyway. Yeah, reduce taxation and minimum wage grows on its own. That is a fucking good point. You know, like if you want minimum wage to rise, reduce taxation. But the main issue with minimum wage is that when it goes up, people get fired, prices go up. It's not a good thing. Like here's when you realize just how bad it is. For some fucking reason, most people think themselves from the perspective of the employee. No one thinks from the perspective of the employer. Like for instance, if I wanted to start a cat cafe, and I actually did do that, you look at the number of things that you need to do, the number of paperwork, the number of taxes, and everything else that you need to sign and stuff. It is insane. Absolutely insane. You end up paying so much to the government just for having one guy. And you have to pay the minimum wage, right? So like for instance, if I want to hire just a person that pours coffee, and they're willing to work for less because it's like fucking pour coffee, a monkey can do it, you have to pay them the minimum wage. Basically, Milton Friedman said it best. The problem with minimum wage is that you are excluding people from the job market that can't perform a job which is worth the minimum wage. Right? Usually when you get employment, they're like, okay, well, what do you know to do? What exactly do you know to do, right? And if you want like $1,000 per month, they will ask you, like, well, what do you know to do that is worth $1,000 a month? And the answer is like, if they're making the minimum wage $2,000, then the question would be like, well, what do you know to do that's $2,000? Well, I can pour coffee. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not worth $2,000. Most people are employees. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, even I as an employee have to think about the employer perspective because you want employers to exist and create jobs. In a market where there's multiple opportunities, the price increases. Because this is another thing. The way minimum wage rises naturally is if you have like a shitty job, which is like working at a KFC, right? Like that's a shitty job. But if the other restaurants offer better pay, then no one would work at KFC. So KFC has to increase the wage. It's simple. It's not fucking rocket science. Christy, thank you. It's not even a coffee, man, but I appreciate it nevertheless. Can't wait for a crossover between my favorite Romanians. Who are your favorite Romanians? If you're talking about Rochan, I'm not going to stream with her. Which is the same thing with rising minimum wage. Now those people have to pay more in taxes because they're getting paid more. It's not really like that. I mean, if the main problem isn't that you have to pay more taxes. The main problem is that with the people getting fired, you now have to do the job of more people. So if a colleague of yours gets fired from this system, then you gotta work on his job as well. So it's very excruciating and tiresome. Plus the added mental fatigue that you know you can get fired any day. So it is. $1,000 a month after tax is like $33 an hour, probably. Unless you actively import people willing to work for less. Yeah, that is a good point, I guess. Like, immigration is actually devaluing the workforce. And I don't understand how leftists don't agree with this shit. It is just like bizarre. Like I don't even understand like what the controversy is. Like if you're willing to pay $2,000 per month to hire an artist, well not an artist because that's a little bit different. But you're willing to pay $2,000 a month for a construction worker, right? And you have this other guy which does literally the same job and he's willing to do it for $1,000. Why the fuck would you not hire him? Now you may say, well, okay, fine, but like, why doesn't the one that spends 2,000? Well, the one that spends 2,000, that wants 2,000, like maybe that's the amount he needs. Maybe he's got a loan, you know, like maybe he's got an insurance that he needs to pay. Maybe he's got like, right? Because like usually, especially with construction workers, like if you're talking about a construction worker that comes from abroad, so like a Moldavian from here, right? He comes into Romania, just does a construction job, goes back to Moldavia, and now he's got a lot of cash. I mean, he doesn't have to live in Romania, so the prices here don't affect him. You have to spend the money to make money. Get a second screen. No. In Romania, the minimum wage is tied to the fines. If the wage goes up, so do the fines. That is such a fucking great point. I never thought about that shit, but holy crap, you're right. Yeah. So a lot of the fines in Romania, usually like traffic fines and stuff like that, they are tied to the minimum wage. So when the minimum wage goes up, like even if you're not working as a minimum wage, your fine goes up. I don't know. Yeah, like, you know, if you're driving and you go on a red light, you gotta pay a fine. But it's not only that. Like littering, you know, like there's a lot of fines. I'm actually curious if it's the same in the United States, right? Like if the fines are set based on minimum wage, because they are here. So again, like even if you don't happen to have like a minimum wage or something, all of a sudden all the fines go up. So whenever you're driving, and many people get a fine at some point, right? Like when you're driving, you're going to get like a stingier fine because they raised the minimum wage. If you're poor, you're saying crime is cheaper, costs more if you have more. No. That's not what I'm saying. Like let's say I don't know like the penalty, but let's say you're driving and you're crossing over a red light. Okay, now what they do is they suspend your driving permit and they give you a fine. So they may give you like something, I don't know, like between $500 to $1,000, and this is based on the minimum wage. Now when the minimum wage rises, the fine goes like $600 to $1,100, right? Because it's set on a percentage of the minimum wage. And it's for everyone, right? Now, usually, the fine is based on... so, it allows the officer some wiggle room. Like, when do you get $500? Well, you get $500 if, you know, it's like a very small intersection. The street is empty. When the officer came in, you're very sorry and remorseful for what you did. And the officer goes, okay, so the minimum amount that I can give him is $500, so he will give you $5. However, let's say that you actually crossed a red light in a big intersection. You knew that the light was red and you crossed it anyway. You endangered the public. When the officer comes up, you're belligerent, you're aggressive. Then you're going to get the $1,000 fine, right? So I think like this may be the same in every country. You should always be nice to the police officer. Even if like the police officer is unreasonable, you should genuinely be nice to them. Because they get to decide. They get to decide if you get the minimum amount or the highest amount. And if you think that the officer wronged you in any way, shape, or form, you can sue them after. But like, whenever you're approached by a police officer, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't A, comply with his instructions, and B, actually have be remorseful of what you did and have a pleasant conversation. Or the officer signals you that a bribe will be the best solution. It's very difficult to bribe officers now, which is a good thing. They usually have body cameras and they have like car cameras and such. So it's very difficult to give them a bribe. No, it is Romanian money, but like I was just giving an example. I do not know how much the fines are because I don't drive a car. Yeah, don't be a jackass street lawyer. Like here's my advice with the cops, okay? Don't be a jackass street lawyer arguing with the cop. You want to sue the cop after the fact, right? But there's no reason why you need to be a jackass. Always be polite. And never, ever, ever talk to the cops without a lawyer present. Like this is the one thing that I saw at law school that so many people do wrong, and so many people would have walked away had they just shut the fuck up. Like, your Miranda rights are very important, right? The moment the cops ask you to go to the station for any type of statement, first of all, unless you're in handcuffs, you shouldn't go, and you should get a lawyer. Secondly, when you are at the police station, many people believe that if you talk to the cops, you can work it out. The cops are not there to be your friends. If they talk to you, they either pin you as a suspect, or they're trying to build a case around you. They do not. And by the way, when the cops talk to you, the reason that they talk to you is because they want to build that case. So if you say something that makes you innocent, they can discard it. If you say something that makes you guilty, it just proves them. It's kind of like listening to a person that you already made up your mind of, right? Like, if they have you at the station, they already made your mind up. They already made their mind up that you're either guilty or that they can build a case around you. So there is no fucking reason why you should talk to them without a lawyer. Now, there is an exception, of course, if you have an alibi, right? So, like, if they actually accuse you of something and you have an alibi, like you were at work when that happened, or, right, then that is different. You can, but even then, actually, no, you should have a lawyer. By the way, let me give you an example. If you're at the cops and they ask you, why did you start the fight? And you're saying, I didn't start the fight, that means you admitted that you were in a fight. But if you have a lawyer present and the lawyer says, my client did not start the fight, that sounds different. Not just car fines, but a state government can also fine your company. Yeah, like all the fines go up. Where are you getting the money though, Sue? Justice is only for the wealthy. Yeah, I mean, if you have a good lawyer, you can obviously get away with a lot of more stuff. Never volunteer information. The only time you should volunteer information is like if you're a witness. But even then, if you're a witness, you need to have a lawyer present. Always have a lawyer present. There is absolutely no reason why not to. And if the cops say, well, you don't need one, you're like, well, the fact that you're saying I don't need one makes me want to have one more. Or that only guilty people have lawyers. And it's like, all right, well, you can tell the judge that I got a lawyer. If that's what you think, right? If only guilty people get lawyers, tell the judge, this guy is guilty. What? He got a lawyer. There is no reason, ever, under any circumstance, you shouldn't get a lawyer. You can't sue cops in the US. They have qualified immunity. No, but you can argue with their decision making, right? So even if you, I guess, I don't know how it's like in the US, but like even if you can't get even if you can't sue a cop, you can still, you can still press, you can still disagree with his decision making. So you can say, well, he gave me a fine, but like I didn't commit any crime. Like, I wasn't speeding, blah, 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 you know, whatever. Alright, so, let's listen to something here. Migrants have overtaken luxury hotels in New York. Like, this has to be the best thing ever. Imagine going to another country illegally and you get placed in a luxury hotel. Isn't that... Wow. How much does that cost, though? Like in the United States? $300? $500 a month? Sorry, a day? Oh, Jesus, a month. Here you go. So you get like all these people staying outside of New York because the hotels are filled, and apparently the taxpayer is paying for all of this. The interesting thing is, like, the hotels are so dumb for taking this, and I'll tell you why. It actually happened to a restaurant here. It went out of a business. That there was this luxurious, well, actually, it wasn't that luxurious, but it was like mid to up range restaurant. Which when they heard in the newspaper that a building caught fire, they decided to say, okay, well, if you live in that building, you can come here and get free lunch. So basically, like, they wanted to promote themselves by doing something nice for the community. The problem is that the people did come, and as they came, they also brought their own food, and most of their food was stinky as fuck, like onion, garlic, garlic with salami, like just because that place was high class. Because if it was low class, it wouldn't matter. But because that place was high class, like the individuals with the soy latte would go there, and they are exposed to that nasty smell, they would go there once or twice and never come again. And this is the same with the New York City hotels. They look at all of these individuals that came in, and they're going to be like, well, this is not a high-class hotel, right? Because usually, right, despite like the social justice and all of that shit, in reality, people, they do associate based on class. Like, you're going to notice that class actually transcends race. You can have like a person that's a CEO. It's got nothing against another person that's like a black CEO or an Asian CEO. Like, that doesn't fucking matter. And it's the same with people that are really low class. Like, I guarantee to you, a hillbilly and a gangbanger probably have much more in common than they would tolerate, let's say, a soy latte drinking individual. So basically, this applies to the establishments they frequent, right? So, like, if it's a high-class establishment, if it's a hotel, if it's a restaurant, and your prices are for high-class people, and you're having, like, low-class individuals there, your actual paying customer is going to go away. Now, of course, the government is paying, so they're like, well, as long as the government is paying, it's all good. But in reality, the problem that you're going to encounter is that all your paying customers are going to go away, or they're going to be spooked. So what's going to happen is the moment the government stops paying, well, good luck getting some customers back. Because now you're probably like 2-star, 3-star reviews. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I wouldn't do it. American Outlier, thank you for becoming a member. I thought you were a member. That's new. So anyway, in Cyberpunk, let's talk about Cyberpunk. You have gun vending machine and no carry permits. Right. So I just wanted to discuss this interesting post on 4chan that we discussed on my other channel. The idea of Cyberpunk being a dystopia is something that many people are disagreeing with. So they're blah. Their statement is that, first of all, the technology makes actually life better. So even the gangbanger is more educated and has access to more information than a person living today. That the health system is a lot better. That you get like much cooler toys and cooler stuff. So why is it that it's considered a dystopia? And I guess when this game was made, and the Cyberpunk universe was first a pen and paper game, very old. But when this game was made, people actually have liberty and freedom. And the concept was that you're trading your liberty and freedom away for trivial things. But the problem is, like, nowadays, people are having less and less freedom. Like, when you're going online, most of the stuff is spied on you. Here's an example, okay? Like apparently this is done based on an experiment, and you can try it as well. Take a phone that's new. So a brand new phone. And put it on a table and talk about cars all day with a friend of yours. Next to that phone. When you log on to the Google account that the phone is connected, you're going to get ads with cars. Like, this is the level of spyware that we have. And not only that, but there are devices that you can buy. And apparently you can literally listen to the phone or the devices that your neighbors are having. I don't even know if I can say the name of the device, but it's legal. Like, you can buy it. And if you can do it, I'm pretty sure the phone company can, and as well as the government.
Like, your phones are literally walking devices that people can use. They're microphones, pretty much. The Soviet version of a microphone. But now the thing is, most people don't give a shit. And most people don't care. Like, they know. They know. Like, even if you tell a person that the Alexa is spying on you, they don't care. So when you're already living the dystopia, where like, the phone is something that people can listen into, then Cyberpunk doesn't seem that bad. It's like, yeah, I mean, what do they do? Oh, well, the company spies on you. Okay, but like, they do that in real life. Oh, but like, when you're online, you're being tracked. Okay, like, that happens. Like, where's the bad thing? Well, there's shootings out. Well, there's shootings in Chicago as well. Like, where... So, because of that, or due to that, Cyberpunk is no longer a dystopia. But like the weirdest people, I will tell you, the weirdest people are those that get smart houses. And this actually happened with Amazon recently. Apparently there was a person that phoned the Uber driver, Uber Eats, and the Uber driver believed he heard that the person called him the N-word. So he left the food at the door, and he believed that someone from within the house called him the N-word. So he filed a complaint to Amazon, and because of that, the house was taken offline, which meant that everything that was electric, lights, the refrigerator, the cooking device, like all of these things stopped working. So now the person comes home, his house is taken off the platform, so he has to send the message to Amazon, and Amazon just denies his appeal. So he has to escalate, and after like 5 or 6 days, he finally gets his house back. Why would you do that though? Like why would you trust a company with the keys to your fucking house? It's so bizarre. I wouldn't trust that with a neighbor. Like, I wouldn't trust this amount of control with some of my family members that are more distant. Why would you trust a company with this level of power over your house? So fucking batshit insane. And the fact that there's like no backup switch, like let's say, okay, well, maybe there's a power outage. Well, not necessarily a power outage, but like maybe the Wi-Fi goes down or some shit. Like I should still be able to turn on my lights. I should still be able to do this and that. Ivy, hope your day is well. It seems that libs are experiencing the Texas border effect, but they won't learn from this. They are reshaping the country. I'm actually curious, like, they may actually learn from this. Because when you see, like, the Democrats' mayors and stuff, like talk about this as it's a bad thing, it becomes very interesting to see the next elections. We have less freedoms because we are cowards. So okay. Here is the way that a person explained to me, and I think I talked about it in my main channel, but like this is a way that it was explained to me on how the government behaves. Basically, the government and you are in what's considered to be an abusive relationship. So you have like this woman, which is the relationship with you, and demands that you give her $500. So the first time she does this, you would say, no, are you crazy? Like, I don't have $500. Fuck off. So then she comes to you the next day and goes like, okay, well, give me $200. And you're like just bored with the nagging, right? Like you just can't handle the nagging anymore. And you're like, fine, here's $100. Leave me alone. So she takes the $100, and then like after a couple of weeks, she comes back and she says, look, $100 wasn't enough. Give me $200. So you then give her $200 just so that she shuts up, right? And then she starts taking $200 for you for like a couple of months. Every single month, she wants $200. And the next month, you know, she goes like she wants $300. And then she starts asking a little, until it goes to the $500 that she initially asked. So now you're giving her $500 a month. And then she may go like, okay, well, I want $800, and you are fed up, and you're like, look, listen, 800 is way too much. I don't have 800. Fuck off. So she knows that 500 is the limit. She knows not to go over 500. She knows that, okay, well, as long as I just ask 500, he's okay with it. But take into account that initially you weren't okay with 500. But she started asking for that 100. And you were okay with that. And then she asked for 200 more and you were okay, right? So basically, the government will take as much as people allow it to. The moment people start complaining, the moment people start protesting and rioting, that's when the government goes, all right, well, this is the level that they're willing to put up with. And then, of course, they will keep that level down, and then they will try to take more and more over the course of time. If people are fine with it, if you're silently consenting, then it is what it is. Now, unfortunately, when you talk about people, it's the masses, right? So you personally may be upset, but there's nothing you can do about it. And the government also makes sure that people can't gather and talk about the things that make them upset. So it's very difficult. Like it really needs to piss people off incredibly hard in order to get to that point. Like, for example, it happened to that point, I believe, in Denmark, where you have the farmer party, right? Like the government pushed so hard and pissed people off so much with like the climate agenda from the European Union. It wasn't even about carbon, it was about some other shit. And people were like, okay, fuck off. So they now started the farmer party, and it looks to be doing really well, right? But the government now knows, all right, well, we need to fuck with the farmers a little bit less. A little bit less. We shouldn't stop fucking with them at all, like altogether, but like a little bit less. The spying is even worse, because I had cases when I would buy certain goods with my bank card. Later, I would get YouTube ads for those goods. Take into account that it's not just like your credit card that does this, and I don't know if this is true or not, like if your credit card is feeding information to YouTube, but there was this case where a father was starting to suddenly get diaper commercials. It's like, what? Why am I getting diaper commercials? Like, it was so bizarre, right? Like all these baby commercials, like pacifiers, diapers. So what ends up happening is that he finds out after a couple of months that his daughter is pregnant. Now the reason for this is quite simple. It's not really rocket science. Basically, like on Facebook, you add the daughter as your family member. So now when the daughter looks up these things, like she visits mommy blogs, she goes on Facebook groups about mommies and stuff like that. That's when Facebook knows, okay, so she's probably pregnant. I'm going to give her diaper ads, and I'm going to give her family members as well the same ad source, right? So it's just like an example, but like at the time, this was I think like 2014, and the guy was mind baffled. It's like, how does Facebook know? Well, I'll tell you how it knows, but it's just like, I remember there was a company which tries to expose Facebook in its ads. I think it was like a VPN company, did such a fucking great job. It had like, you had an ad which would say, we know you are from, and would give you your address. You like motorcycling, your hobbies are this and that, you like reading these types of books, this is your age, this is your marital status. We know this because Facebook knows. Buy our VPN. So, yeah. You slap her and kick her out. You can't do that with the government, though. The ads do reflect your search history, of course. The ads reflect your likes. They reflect your search history. They even, I mean, now that you have AI, maybe they even reflect the stuff you talk about. No one knows. But every time you heart something. I mean, here's another example how it works. The more time you spend on a post on Twitter, the more likely that the algorithm will suggest you similar posts. So there were like a couple of liberals complaining that, oh my god, like the Twitter algorithm is feeding me stuff from right-wingers, eek. And I was like, yes, because you spend more time interacting with those posts. Twitter doesn't care if you're raging at them, you're foaming at the mouth. All it knows is like you like raging at Twitter posts, so they will give you more posts to rage at. The whole idea is to keep you on the platform. They don't give a shit if you like it or not. What they give a shit is like how much time you spend with it. So if you see like a funny cat video and you just click next, but then you see a post by a right-winger and you start dripping with venom and smashing your head against the keyboard, but you're spending like 10 minutes on doing it, then it's going to give you more posts so you can spend more minutes doing it. It's not rocket science. It's very fucking simple. Scary but likely effective. I watch VTubers ads to completion, so why can't I get more VTuber ads? Well, maybe there aren't that many, but I know that Pipkin Pippa does this, and it's very effective. And hello, Yellow Looks Red. I see you in the chat. The way it works is that if you have like, and you can do this as a test as well. Like if you have several YouTube accounts, right? Like several Google accounts, what you can do is you have one Google account that's just for anime. So you're browsing your internet with anime, and then you have like another Google account which is dedicated to, I don't know, like something like video games, right? Or politics. So politics is better, right? So you have one account that's like just looking for political stuff, and another account that's for anime. What you will notice that if you use them like 2 days, like just 2 days, in order to like get the algorithm to understand what you want, whenever you're going to log on the anime account, you're going to get only anime suggested videos, anime ads, anime stuff. And when you go to the political account, you're going to get politics only and different types of ads. And you can do this like with most things. But basically, like if you have multiple Google accounts and you want to like cater your experience, you can do that. Just don't mix and match. Vebozel, thank you. Imagine ever seeing ads in the year of our Lord 2023. I never turned the ad blocker off, and I'm not sorry. Here's to make up for the completely hypothetical lost income. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know if like ad block works that well, like for every single ad. I've not tried it because like I make money off of the ads, so it would be hypocritical of me to use it. I understand why other people do it, but most people don't use it, right? And you gotta understand, like the targeted demographic are the normies. Like if you're going to install that, it's less likely that you would use it and actually like click on the ads, right? Like if you're using ad block, it's very less likely that you would click on something. So I think that's how the system is designed. There's departments full of people in big companies who spend every moment of their life trying to find metrics and ways to maximize attention on a website. Dude, like one of the worst suggestions that I got was like from a fellow Romanian that also works in coding, and apparently like this is actually trademarked. There is an ad, sorry, there is a system that would play ads on your phone, and if you're not looking at your phone, the ad would pause. So you'd have to constantly look at the ad in order to get it to go away. And apparently, like, that's also trademark for TV. I think, like, Samsung might have a trademark. But, like, you would have an ad, which, the same thing, like, you look at the TV and the ad, until it finishes playing, you have to constantly look at it. If you look the other way, it pauses. But there's another ad, which, like, this one was really interesting. You can skip it if you actually cheer for the company name. So imagine this. No, like ironically, this is like one of the worst inventions that I heard. Like this is Dystopia and Cyberpunk shit. You're sitting on your couch, right, and you see the McDonald's ad. So you gotta get on your feet, throw your hands over your head, and say "Go McDonald's," and the ad stops playing. If you don't do this, then the ad keeps playing until it's over. So I'm thinking, like, imagine, like, a 10-minute commercial break where you'd have to just, like, shout the name of every company that pops up. It's like, go McDonald's, oh, go Tesla, go this, go that, Coca-Cola. No, it's not a movie. It's a patented thing. Like they have the patent for it. Now, having the patent for it, I gotta say, it can be two things. Number one, many companies patent something because they don't want their competition to do it. So if you see, you will notice that a lot of startups work like this. You get a startup in the US, and they're like making a very interesting and cool app. Many people work there. So what they want is that they don't want to sell the app. They want Google to buy them. So once Google buys the company, they fire everyone, and they shelves that app. Like, they make sure that no one uses it ever. And that is their business model, right? It's so that the competitor doesn't get their hands on it. The other thing is that they may intend to actually use it in the future. Let me. I can't believe that this is real. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the thing. It's See, this is one of the problems. Because they really fucked the Google engine. There used to be a time when I would search for something and I would automatically get it, but now. I think you're going to just have to take my word for it. Ah, here we go. There's a new technology that encourages you to scream at your television to skip the commercial. Here we go. I put it here. We already walk around talking into headphones like crazy people, but some kind of making us look nuts is to skip commercial by shouting the name of the advertised product at the TV. Rabbi Tuesday's cheese fries. The idea comes from a solution to how humans have evolved in this area flooded with ads. Our brains have learned to tune out the singing kitty in the background until the game comes back online. Well, apparently, this ad innovation might end that. Meow Mix, savory morsel with real beef and gravy. Aside from making us shout the inanimate objects, Sony patent application also includes the rights to create interactive commercial. The company aims to coerce viewers into actually viewing by allowing us to speed up commercials with mini-games playable throughout the video game's controller. For example, an ad for The Apprentice may require you to pick up a motion-detecting controller and comb Donald Trump's hair with one hand while taking his wallet with Melania's other hand. A commercial for NyQuil may have you dress a character for work through the blur and in coordination of morning grogginess. So on and so forth. Sony has been planning this since 2012, but only recently applied for the US patent. The days of DVRing through commercials may soon come to an end if it all goes to the way the company desires. As viewers, we can only sit back, watch the future grow strange, and pray that the voice recognition commercial in the Worcestershire sauce never happens. Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, that's the standard oil business model for over 100 years. Buy your competitor and maintain dominance through acquisition. It's not just the oil model. It's like, it's common sense. Like, it's legal to do, so why wouldn't you do it? Especially if it's cheap, right? Like, if it's cheaper to buy your competitor than to actually compete with them, then there you go. 2014, I don't know when they patented it, but like, again, maybe they patented it so other people don't get to use it. Maybe they're sparing us this horror from the world. They could charge each person in the room to see a movie. I think they already are doing that in China. So the televisions, this is not something that they're doing. I think it's also a patent. The television can detect how many people are in the room using facial recognition software. So basically, you have to like pay an extra account if you want more people to watch, right? So like, let's say you have your Netflix account, and you have like the basic account for one person, and if you want to upgrade, then it can be like 2 or 3 people. And if there's more people in the room, then the television gives you like an error and demands that you upgrade your account. If you're looking at like Cyberpunk shit, again, like not only are they coming, but most people don't have a problem with it. Yeah, pay-per-view in a more literal sense, exactly. I mean, look at the video game industry. It's literally what happened, right? Like, so when I started playing video games, the way it worked is that you would go to the store and you would buy a physical disc. And then on that physical disc, it was a full game that worked at launch. the idea of patching was very rare. I mean, in order to get like a patch, you'd probably have to buy it out of disc or something. So, or you would go to the website and you would use your modem that went like, and then you download the patch, right? So, because of that, they had to make sure that the game runs perfectly on that disc. Okay, now, most games would have an expansion pack. And the expansion pack usually had half the content of the main game. And it would cost half as much as the original game. Okay, so... Holy shit, Raging Bull, thank you, $100. A merchant's kiss for a lovely squeaky gypsy rat. I thank you so much, Raging Bull. Really appreciate it. That's so nice. Why am I getting such big donations lately? Has my content improved? As I was saying, right? So this is like how video games used to be in the past. But then, and I think it was Bethesda with that retarded horse DLC, right? You get a DLC from Bethesda, because I even wasn't able to like wrap my mind around it. But it was like a horse armor in the game. I think it was Skyrim or Oblivion. I forgot which game. But like literally that was the thing. Like you're getting now an armor for a horse. And I'm thinking like, who wants to buy that? Like, wait, is it like an expansion? No, it's just an armor for a horse. And it was like $2 or $5. Like, it was expensive. And I was like, who buys that? Why, though? Like, why would you buy it? But, like, apparently it was successful enough. Despite the controversy, like, many people like myself were wondering, like, what type of person buy it? Oblivion. Right. So many people bought it. And after they bought it, guess what happens? Like, more companies are doing DLC. And more and more and more, to the point where they don't even make expansion packs anymore. Like if you want an expansion pack, you gotta buy like 10 or 20 DLCs put together. My ad block is so powerful, I can't read newspapers anymore. They want the blocker off, but it's worth it. I don't care about newspapers. Well, I mean, social media breaks the news anyway, so. But yeah, so, the companies did test the blood and went in. And it's not only that, like as time moves on, most of the gaming companies, they stop focusing on making a good game, and instead they're focusing on how to get more money from it. Because it makes sense, right? Like if people put up with it, why wouldn't they? So we're getting to today, where this year alone, I think like 3 or 4 broken games on launch came out. It was Blood Bowl 3, the new one, the Horizon, the Zero Dawn, and like 2 more. All of them were like broken at launch. They literally couldn't work at launch. Because like all the thing is being invested on how to get you to spend more money. That is the goal of the developers now. It's not how like they can make a good game. No, they want to make like the game that works, right? So like for example, they have the formula. The same Far Cry 4 formula works even today, which is basically like you go around the map, you climb the towers reveal the area around it where you get like some mini missions and shit. You go to this point where you start like the next quote unquote mission, and basically like this is the game, right? And it's not even like a third person, like maybe you have like some RPG elements where you get to like upgrade some skills, and you get to like maybe have like a dialogue tree that gives you 2 options or some shit, so you get like some level of immersion. But like it's the same shit. The only thing that's different is the monetization, like how they can milk more money from you, how they can take more money from you, how they can spy on you, how they can harvest your data, how they can collect more info from you. There's a newspaper paywall bypass plugin that's called Bypass Paywall that will work on most news sites. Oh, I see. You also gotta add DLC for normies to buy your game. Unironically, like I want to have DLC. Now, I don't know if I'm going to charge for it or not. It's not going to be for normies. It's going to be for the people that like it. I'll see how much it cost me because... But I'll probably try to make like genuine like free DLC. Because like one of those live 2D scenes, it costs me around $800 to make per scene. So it is expensive for me, but like if the game sells well, then I can give it for free. So we'll see. The other issue is games coming out unfinished and broken at launch. Me and the other VTubers were struggling for over an hour to get into a game like Payday 3 onto stream. It was a fucking nightmare. I fucking agree with that. You're absolutely right. But here's the other reason. Again, it's happening because people are willing to put up with this shit. That's the only reason. If people are willing to put up with that shit, you're going to get more. So basically, the way this started is that I remember very well. You would have a beta. Now beta, by the way, when you're talking about a game betas, like the way I will have my beta, is that it was legitimate as a way for the developer to test his game. Like, is this game up to the path? Like, does it have any bugs that I need to patch? And it usually was that the people who were beta testing were paid to beta test. Like, they were actually paid to try and break the game. But for some reason, that goes away, and what we get beta tests are just free demos now. So, and usually it's not just that they're free demos, but they're also a way for companies to encourage you to buy the deluxe edition of the game, right? So the game costs $70, you pay $90, you get early access to the beta, you get early access to the... So the betas aren't really there in order to polish the game. They're just there to be like a free promotion. Some gamers do not have the mental fortitude or the brain capacity to figure this shit out. So they legitimately pretend that the beta is like it used to be. And when you play a game, you play a beta, and you're saying this game is shit because such and such, and you're giving feedback to the forum, those gamers will be like, actually, it's a beta. Why do you complain? They're going to fix it on launch. Perfect example was Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V comes out. You can't really find the keys on your keyboard. Like, it was like such a basic function. But like everyone that plays the game with the keyboard was outraged by it. It's like, dude, I need to redefine my keys. It's a beta. Obviously, they're going to let you solve that issue. Game comes out, same problem, right? And when people complain, they go like, now it's like, it's day one. Why do you expect things to work on day one? You know, like these people, in my opinion, are disgusting. They bring absolutely nothing of value to the gaming community. They need to be laughed and ridiculed off of every single fucking forum. No mercy, sweep the leg. There is no reason why gamers aren't calling these people out. Remember when quality assurance testers complained companies treat them like trash, and shortly after, everything started having 100 betas and early accesses? I actually know someone that was working, I think it was Ubisoft or EA Games, and he was working as a beta tester. It wasn't really that bad. I mean, I don't know why they would complain that they're being treated like trash. So, they had like this big open office with a ball pit and other amenities. They were paid minimum wage, that's true, but it's not like a job that you're supposed to make a career off of. And what they had to do was to play these phone games, and you would like receive a message while you're playing the game so that it would test to see if the game can be broken by messages, right? Because like you're playing the phone game, and as you're getting a call while playing, you want to see if the game will pause and then resume after the call. Because like that's one of the things that is specific to phone games. Like what happens if you're playing and you're getting a phone call. But like other than that, like there was no problem with the job, right? Like it was much better than working at a McDonald's. So really, I don't know why they were complaining. Yeah, it's a ball pit. I mean, it's Ubisoft. They have to have a ball pit. You need the child mindset. Like, if you want good, obedient employees, they need to have the child mindset because then they follow orders and they don't ask questions. Street Fighter V had like 8 characters. Yeah. But that wasn't like the main problem with it. I wasn't that upset about that. The reason is money and influence from the place woke activists came from. Notice the dive in overall quality as they started to get more and more common. Well, it's more like when you do a diversity hire, you expect them to not want to be paid a lot, you know? So they're willing to be paid less. But in exchange, they also, like, they do not, like, you don't hire based on quality, so
You don't get quality.
Anyway, right? Thank you so much. Jesus, a lot of super chats today. I don't know what to say. Like, thank you. Seriously, it helps me a lot. Like this game that I'm making is milking me out of cash, and this is actually helping me survive. So, thank you so much. Hopefully, you guys got entertainment, and I'll see you next time. Take care.